My name is Emmeline Hambali. I'm the mother of 3 kids. I have 3 teenage children, and I am the director of shared services for a company called Dynapack Asia. And again, I'm pretty sure no one has ever heard of Dynapack Asia because we are a manufacturing company that works in the field of rigid plastic packaging. So before you start, tuning out because I work in plastics, my topic today is not really about plastics, right? Today is about refresh, rebound. So I think before we start, right, I think I need to kind of confess something. I don't think I can speak much on rebound, okay? I personally feel that I've actually never rebounded in my life. I'm 45 years old. I don't remember a time where I actually rebounded, not even when I broke up with my boyfriends. I think of life as a journey. I think of everything that I do as work in progress. So I don't really think that there's at any point in time that I've actually rebounded from anything. So today I would be sharing a little bit about what keeps me going, what keeps me motivated, the tips and tricks that over the years I have learned about just kind of getting things going, and how do I keep on chugging along with 3 kids and working in a field that is predominantly male, right? So here goes, right? So the first thing I would like to say is that I am not one of those people that grew up and knew what I wanted to do with my life. When I was a teenager, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think there's a lot of pressures in society today to know exactly what you want to do at a very young age. I was definitely not one of those people. So if you look at my first 15 years, my career, my first 15 years, you will see that I did a lot of things. But that is because I was trying to find myself. I was trying to find a purpose that will keep me going. What I realized looking back, right? If I look back in my 25-year career, what I realized is that I love to solve puzzles. So if you give me a challenge, the harder it is, to me, it's what drives me and motivates me and makes me do the things that I do. It's really interesting to hear the previous speaker talk about running, right? This is not something that I've done before, by the way. I barely exercise. But again, I'm motivated to try doing something that it's out of my comfort zone. That's what keeps me going. Next slide, please. So, in my humble opinion, right, what keeps me going all these years are these 3 things. The first thing is the chance to learn, right? And when I say the chance to learn, a lot of people think about technical skills, the knowledge that you have to do your job and to do it well. That's important. I have to say that is the basis of everything that we do. If we want to implement a system, we need to understand the system. We need to understand the infrastructure behind it. If we want to do sourcing, which is buying of things, we need to know what we're buying. It makes us a better buyer. However, I think equally important in everything that we do, we need to continue to learn the interpersonal skills that makes things happen, right? These are things that I learned, that things like communication, teamwork, project management. And I honestly think these are skills that are probably people pay less attention to. However, these are the things that give you the ability to do more and more. And I realize what keeps me going, what keeps me motivated, what is always keeping me fresh is that the ability to do more and bigger projects. I didn't start out today being able to stand on this stage and speak to a bunch of people. I think of myself as an introvert. I like to stay at home. I don't like to speak to people. I studied business because that was the most generic thing there was, I guess. But I never really enjoyed the challenges of doing communication. But I do realize that without the ability, so you can be the smartest person in the room, but if you cannot say what you think and express your ideas, to develop empathy towards the people that you are talking to, it is one of the hardest things to do to actually get things going. And again, as I said, what drives me forward is being able to execute bigger and bigger things, making bigger and bigger impact to the world, to the community, and wherever I am. So learning these things, and I'm still learning today, there's things that one of the things that I learned, by the way, is stop moving your hands when you're talking, but I'm doing that a lot. I learned that quite recently. But I have a really bad habit. I'm very, I like to use my hands, but they say when you're doing public speaking, stop moving your hands. So I'm learning. It is just part of who I am, right? The second thing that, again, keeps me going is being surrounded by good people. I am extremely blessed, personally and professionally, to have found a community of people that definitely drives me forward. They motivate me. They tell me I can do it. They tell me that I can do more. You know, they remind me when I lose my way. There's often times that are, and I appreciate this. If I'm lucky enough to have a team that is relatively young, so the people that I work with, about 50% of them are under the age of 30. And I really believe that, the communication and they're able to tell me, they give me fresh ideas. These are things that honestly, it really motivates me because it gives me a fresh new perspective. I've been in the industry 22 years. Honestly, oftentimes I take things for granted, right? Sometimes I assume that what cannot be done 10 years ago cannot be done today. But again, I'm surrounded by people who dare to speak their minds, dare to tell me when I'm wrong, dare to remind me the right path. And that is so important. If you're not lucky enough to have that in your family, I hope you're lucky enough to find that with your friends and the people that you work with. Now, lastly is time. And this is, again, I work with a lot of young people, right? And I oftentimes, there's a sense of impatience. This is where the generation gap comes in, right? I come from an environment, it's like you work hard, you do your work, you don't complain and just do it. But I do realize that things have changed, technology moves faster. Everything is a lot faster today. And I think it needs to be reminded that some things take time. I'll give you an example, okay? 20 years ago, I mentioned before that I work in plastics. I make plastic bottles for a living, right? So 20 years ago, my father decided to go into recycling. Right? So he understood that it's necessary for us to be more sustainable. And so he decided to go into recycling. That project, I have to say, did not last. The infrastructure wasn't there. It was done with good intentions, but the reality is that things were just not ready. It was not the right time to do recycling at that time. About 7 years ago, I brought up the issue of recycling. And I went to the board, asked the shareholders, can I do this project? Now, they basically gave me a list of 100 things that can go wrong with this industry, right? And did I want to give up? Sort of, sometimes. There are times that I just kind of thought, maybe this is not worth it. Maybe, I'm fighting internally to get a project going. I don't even know what kind of fight I have to make out there when the business is running. However, again, I was surrounded by an amazing team that was encouraging me to kind of push through this project. I met the right people, the right partners to execute this project. And I took all the learnings that my father had 20 years ago to make sure that this project would be successful. Now, I call this my pandemic baby. And today we have a recycling plant in Bakasi. It is one of the largest recycling plants producing rPET, food contact safe recycled plastics. And we did this all through the pandemic. And I cannot explain to you how many challenges we went through during that time. But I have to say that it is there, it is running, and it's being used. More importantly, it is being used today. So the way, when I reflect on that, maybe it just required time. Maybe it wasn't something that we did differently. Maybe today's society is just more accepting to the concept and more open about the concept of recycling and is ready to execute this project. 20 years ago, it was not the case. So I think time is something that is really, really important. Now, doing this project and kind of going through all the stuff that, the last 20 something years that I've been working, I realized that sometimes we're a little bit hard on ourselves. We set huge goals, huge targets, right? It's very hard sometimes if you're looking at just one target that is really, really big. I want to save the world from hunger. But that is a very, very huge target. I want to make sure that everyone in this world gets a proper education. Again, very, very large targets. So today, the way I see it is if we can help one person, right? Just one person. Those are the targets that we need to set. So one person at a time. So my son plays sports. I have a son who plays sports, and I was talking to him. He came home yesterday. He was very, very disappointed. He said he didn't do well, and he said, tomorrow I'm going to play badly. And I said to him, listen, all you need to focus on is 1 point at a time. Just that 1 point. Don't worry about the last point, just the next point. Just one at a time. All right? And I see this in the world today, right? We set such huge targets. We want to save the world. We want to do what's great. And that's all great. To have that vision and to have that mission, it's a wonderful thing. However, I do believe that sometimes you kind of just have to be easy on yourself and just kind of say, okay, let's do 1 point at a time. 1 point at a time, right? And eventually we'll get there. And even if you don't get that point, right? I think it's really important to reflect. Actually, in my opinion, even if you do get the point, you should be reflecting. Even if you get the win, you should be reflecting. Because it's always like, how can we do it better? Did I set too low of a target for myself? Those are the questions that you should be asking every single step of the way. Next, please. So the way I see it is that in the journey of my life, at least, right? These are the things that I always think about. Like, how can I help? And what is the strategy to execute it? And I hope, like, with this, we continue to chug along and solve one problem at a time. I hope that, whatever we do is to the, results in good things for the companies that we work for, your studies as well. I really do hope that if you just continuously think about the strategy, because it's an important thing to kind of think about. What is the big picture? Sometimes when you talk about one step at a time, don't forget to think, what is my end goal? What am I trying to achieve here? Okay? I don't think you need to, again, figure things out necessarily all in one go. But I do think that this is something that is important when you're, going through anything. Now, today, I'm very lucky, as I said, I have found my passion. My first 15 years, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Don't really know if I was going the right direction. I don't know what impact I had. But I'm really, really lucky to say that today I have found my mission. And I hope that, we can create a more sustainable future for Indonesia. For those of you who are interested to do sustainability or to know more about sustainability, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. Please come to see our facilities. We have a facility out in Bekasi. And I hope that we can, solve the problem of sustainability in Indonesia one step at a time. Thank you so much for having me today. And I hope this was useful for you. Thank you.